Alright, this is DT2740. It's lab 1.1, and there's some information here, and it wants us to do these 13 steps. Okay, this is what you'll turn into. Now, the first thing it says is start with this no template imperial units option. Okay, so if I hit start, that's going to load whatever template I used last. It's going to be, like the AutoCAD DWT template. I don't want that, so I'm going to hit the arrow here, right there, and I'm going to get all my template choices. And right down here, no template imperial. That's it. Next thing it wants us to do is access the units, set my precision to 00, and make sure the clockwise box is not checked. Okay, that's good. So that's easy. Come over here to AutoCAD. Right, I'm going to type units in the command line, and I'm going to open this up. I'm going to set my precision to 00. And then there's a clockwise button. I never use that. That'll just cause me problems. So that's fine. I'm going to say OK. That's it. Next, save your drawing. Okay, so I'm going to save my drawing. Save as. And I got all my drawings. I'm going to say DT2740 Lab 1. And save. I already had one, so I'm going to write over it. So now, follow these directions. These work. If you save this, even if you forget your initials, if you save this, it will accept those as it'll accept that name for the upload. So if you try to add a bunch of other stuff like your full name or something, you might exceed the numbers, but those directions work. Okay, so next, set your limits to 00 to 11 by 17 for a B-size drawing. Okay, so I'm going to make that 17 by 11. 11 by 17 would be a portrait, and most things are drawn in a landscape. So I'm going to go over here to my AutoCAD, right? I'm going to type limits, 00, enter, and 12 by 9 is the default. It's always been the default. It'll always be the default. And I'm going to say 17, 11. So XY. And nothing happened. Okay. So if you want to see something happen, then what you need to do is you need to use your G settings. Go up here to grid and snap. Or snap and grid. Turn the grid on. And say OK. And then you have a forever grid. That's because this button right here. Display grids beyond the limits. Turn that off. Now, you can see and visually see what your limits are. So when I get this, though, I'm going to type limits and make sure that says 11 by 17 or 17 by 11. Okay. Select the customization, number 6, and turn on the dynamic input button. Okay, so I already have that turned on. When you sit down to your computer, it may or may not be turned on. It's right here. It looks like a little cross, a little bar under it, right? That's your dynamic input. If you can't find that, come over here to the customization. Looks like a hamburger, right? Click it, and it'll be right here. Turn the dynamic input on or off, right? So mine's turned on. Okay. Make sure you set your annotation scale, number 7, 1 to 1. There's your 1 to 1. Okay, that little arrow right there, 1 to 1. That's, later on, there's another lab that gets into annotative scale and setting things in different scales. Okay. Create appropriate layers in the properties manager. You really have to understand these. Normally I do everything down here in the command line, but I'm going to click that button in the ribbon, layer properties. This is where you create and edit all your layers. This little 3 sheets of paper with the orange ball, that lets me create new layers. Now the directions are to create appropriate layers, right? So I'm just going to click on the one I created, and I'm going to edit it to say object. And I'm going to create appropriate layers. So it's really important that you get these correct when you're working. Center. Notes. Dims. Okay, so there's some appropriate layers. Alright, see this check mark? That's your current layer. That's the one you're currently drawing on. So I just know in the future, the first thing I'm going to do is draw on the object layer. So that's there. Okay, now I got 3 things to work with. On and off, thaw and freeze, lock and unlock. Okay, now on and off. On and off, you can turn things on or off. Either they're on and you can see them, or they're off and you can't see them. Freeze is the same thing. You can either thaw them and see them, or freeze them and you can't see them. Now, the only difference is, if I turn something off, I could inadvertently edit it in the background and not know I did it because it's not visible. Freeze, most industry people will use freeze because I can freeze it, it'll disappear from the screen, but I can't inadvertently edit it. It's frozen. Okay? Then I can thaw it, turn it back on, and it comes right back. And then the lock, so on and off. Dark light bulb is off. Light bulb is on. Okay, the lock and the unlock. If I lock it, I can see it, but I cannot edit it. That's what it's for. Next, set appropriate colors. So I'm going to do that real quick for you. I'm going to, I don't know, notes are going to be cyan, and hidden line, lines are going to be red, and which one was that? Center lines will be yellow. That's what I get for clicking too fast. That's good. Okay. Next, line types. They all say continuous. That means it's a straight unbroken line. And I'm going to start with the hidden here. Okay. When I click on the word continuous, it shows me all the line types that I have loaded. Right? So hidden lines are like a dashed line. So I need to load that. So here's a tip. Click anywhere. Type hidden. And just H and it'll come up. Alright? Do that again. Load. Click anywhere. Type C. And it'll take me right to the center line type. Now, I clicked on the hidden line to get here. I need to highlight the hidden line type and say OK to make it apply. So click on the center, say OK to apply that line type. Right? Okay, so now most places will have a set of line weights that they like to use. So center line weights are usually skinny, and dimensions are usually skinny, and hidden lines are usually kind of like an object line. So and notes are usually kind of like an object line, 0.5. And then where's my object? There it is, object lines. So I'll make those 0.5. So that's how you set the line weights for the lines. And then that is a properly, and then number 8, appropriate layers set up in the layer manager. So I'm going to close that now. Okay, where are we at? Number 9. Draw an object using the line command with the dynamic input turned off. Number 9. Okay, that's important. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw this with the dynamic input turned on. That's against the direction. So I'm going to say line from 2, whoops, line 2, to 6, 2. Made a mistake right off the bat. Line 2, 2. There we go. To 6, 2. To 3, 4. To 2, 4. And then close. C for close. So like if I had to stop somewhere in the middle, that close function would not work. You'd have to like connect that to like the endpoint down here or something. But like that's what it drew for me. The reason it drew that shape that direction is or that way is because when you have the dynamic input turned on, it's drawing in a relative coordinate, not an absolute coordinate. So if I turn this off and I do that same sequence again, line 2, 2, 6, 2, to 3, 4, to 2, 4, and then close, you can see that this shape here is considerably different than this shape here, because this drew it in absolute coordinates and this drew it in relative coordinates. So that's all junk, so I'm going to delete all that. Okay, next it says turn the dynamic input back on, use relative coordinates, right, and draw a right side view that's 2 inches wide. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to turn this dynamic input on. I'm going to draw a line, and it is kind of helpful, but I'm going to turn my ortho on and say 1 inch and then 2 inches. I'm just going to draw it up like that. So you can see here, I got 1 line, 2 lines, right? I'm going to draw a line from shift right click to the end point, and then I'm going to do that again from over here. Now, it says get some practice trimming and extending, right? Okay, so trim. I can trim all this stuff because the lines are bisected by something, meaning they cross something. I can't trim this one because it's a whole line and it doesn't cross anything. So I just got to erase that. Right. The next thing it wants us to do is, there's a front view, top, front, side, right? So I want to, from my front view, draw a top view. And it wants me to do it using polar coordinates. Okay, so line, that intersection, I'm going to say at 1, caret, 90 degrees, and it draws me a line straight up. See there? Let's do that again. At 2, caret, 90 degrees, and drew a line straight up. I'm going to drag that over. So, then all you got to do is draw this stuff up. Draw a line from that endpoint. Yeah, I kind of like the perpendicular. So you shift right click to get those. Now this one, can't trim it. Delete it. The other ones, trim, enter, enter. And there, that's what you should be turning into me. Now, just to back up a little bit, and text. Alright, you have absolute coordinates, right? These are typed x, y, whoops, x, y, and if you have a z, which normally you don't, you would type it z. So you would draw across, and then up, and then straight out at you. Next, you have a relative coordinate, right? So these are always typed at x, y, x, y. Okay, and then we had polar coordinates. Well, that looks kind of funny. Polar coordinates are always typed at a distance, caret, maybe the less than symbol just above the space bar, with an angle. Right? And that's the difference. Okay, that's how you data entry the coordinate systems. If you have the dynamic tracking on, then you're using a relative coordinate. If you have it turned off, you're using an absolute coordinate system. And that whole polar tracking stuff works like this. So imagine everything's in a cross, and text. Everything here is 0, comma. That's kind of confusing. So that's 0 degrees going to the right. It's 360 degrees going to the right. And then the rest would be 90, 180, and 270. Okay, that's polar coordinates. Now, if you did the units thing at the beginning and you goofed that up and you turned clockwise on, the whole thing gets turned around. But we didn't. And Let's see. When I'm drawing, I didn't attach it right. When I'm drawing, my coordinates all go, or my polar angles all go counterclockwise. Okay. So if I were to type these in, I would simply say x comma y. Oh, well, I've already got it typed. So let's say line from x comma y to x comma y. That's how that works. Okay, so then I didn't need all that stuff. For you won't have all that when you turn it in. And I'll zoom extents, zoom out a little bit. Then you'll save that, and you'll submit that, and it's all ready to go. That's the end of Lab 1.1.